Do you ever wonder what it really means to be human? That beyond the routines, the masks, and the daily hustle, there's a raw, messy, and beautiful reality unfolding right before our eyes. I'm Rick Watson, and this is Humaning, a podcast where I have honest conversations with everyday humans, and together we peel back the layers, dive into the chaos, and celebrate the magic of just being human. As you listen, notice how different parts of your story may appear in the story of others as we all just do our best to live, to feel, and to connect. Welcome to Humaning. Paul Holland, welcome to Humaning.
Hey, mate. Good to be here.
Thanks for making the trip down.
I appreciate it. I was excited to come and see your new place
Mm,
and come and have a conversation.
yeah. And speaking of new places,
Yes.
you're 3 days in.
Yeah, so Wednesday we moved from the Gold Coast to Canungra.
Yeah.
Got an acre, a 3-bedroom house on an acre out there, which has been a long time desire. And yeah, so it's been pretty manic the last couple of weeks have been pretty manic with a trip away, about, and then packing boxes and moving house and unpacking boxes, but it's so good. Like, it just feels so good. I was on the balcony this morning with a cup of tea, just looking out over trees and the back of Mount Tambourine, and just breathing in the air and going, "Yep, this is bloody great."
This was a good
This
decision.
is a good decision.
Yeah.
And now the intent is to live here for a long time.
Cool.
Live in that place for a long time. Rochelle and I have moved a lot, which is crazy, and then I equated that to my whole life, and it's quite fascinating. So Rochelle and I rented for a long time because we didn't have the money to buy.
Yep.
And this is now the third house we've owned. But in that process of renting, it just seemed that, like clockwork, every 2 years the house we were renting would go up for sale.
Yeah,
and we'd have
right.
to move. The longest we were anywhere was 3 years. But I counted it all up the other day. We've been together 17 years, and this is our 11th move.
Oh, well, at least you'll be good at it.
Yeah, so that's cool. But then, for whatever reason, that got me thinking about how long I've lived in different spaces. Because as a kid, we moved around.
Yeah.
His dad was in the military, so it was always, I went to 5 different primary schools, etc., etc. So I sort of had to think about it, and I worked it out. And the longest I've ever lived in one house is 7 years.
Yeah.
Where I know some people, I know people who have basically moved out of home into a house and are still in that house. People's parents who are still in the house where they grew up. And yeah, I was like, wow, 7 years is the longest I've ever lived in
I'm going
a
to put a
place.
pin in that because I reckon there's something in that just around like what you get from the moves,
Yeah.
So before we do officially jump in,
Yep.
I do like doing a little check-in. So just what it's like to be you now, physically, mentally, emotionally, as we sit here on a Monday morning.
That's a great question.
Mm.
Physically, I'm conscious that I haven't exercised for a couple of months.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little bit heavier than I would desire to be, but otherwise good, otherwise healthy and happy. Mentally, good, pretty clear. This move has been good. There's a few bits of unclarity around work and professional stuff and just, direction on things.
Yep.
Emotionally, that's interesting.
It's not a question you ask yourself very often, is it?
No, it's not. And it's the different areas of life where the emotional things are not conflicting, where they're just flowing, I guess.
Yeah.
So having just moved into the house, feel very happy with that, feel proud to have achieved that.
Yeah.
Feel satisfied that we looked at lots of places and we spent some time doing it, that
Yeah.
we found the right place. So feel sort of satisfaction in that. So around that side of things is good.
Yeah.
Professionally, I've sort of been at this crossroads for 9 months now. and that plays on my mind, that I have a good friend of mine I've been in business with for quite a few years, and he decided he wanted to go off in another direction, which is amazing for him.
Yep.
But it left me pondering, what do I want to do?
What's the emotion under that?
There is a mix of, I think there's a mix of uncertainty,
Yep.
fear.
Yep.
I like diving into things deeply when I'm incredibly interested in them.
Yeah.
And I feel like what I'm doing right now, I feel like I'm good at it, but it's finding the right way for it to work for me, because I know there's other people out there who do a better job than what I do, but that doesn't mean what I do isn't good.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, do I let those other people do what they do and just refer people through to them, or do I do my own version of it? Um, my partner Roscoe was the face of the business. So he was always the face and the name, and he did all the lead generation, and he did most of the sales.
Yeah.
And I'd do a lot of the delivery and the back end and some of the sales. So when he stepped out, it left me going, okay, well, now I have to do all of those bits. So I have to be the face of the business, and and I don't mind doing sales.
And is that where that little bit of fear is?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I've never liked sales as a process.
Yeah.
The promotion side of things, I think there's a bit of fear around it, but there's also, I have this love-hate thing with social media.
Welcome to the family.
Yeah. Like I could quite happily in my life just switch it all off.
Yep.
Switch off Facebook and Instagram and everything, and turn it all off and not have it there at all, and would never bother me again. But I also know that professionally it's a powerful beast, and it's a source of interest, it's a source of leads, it's a source of confirmation for people that I do what I say, or that I am who I say I am, etc. So I did go off Facebook for 6 or 8 months, maybe 18 months, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But then Roscoe was doing his thing. So, so that was fine. So a big part of it's been, finding my way within that. So then emotionally, that's been fear around, I guess, being successful at it, doing it the right way, around happiness and being happy doing it, around cash flow and generating income doing it. So, I've just been living off money. I've got money in the bank and savings and investments and what have you. So, fine. But I also don't like that I'm spending that money. That's investment money and future money.
I want to bring this back to the emotional little bit underneath.
Yeah.
Because I tend to do that now.
It's all good.
What I hear in your check-in, there's some happiness around the move and what went into that and where you're at in that part of life.
Yep.
And some fear and uncertainty professionally.
Yep.
How are you sitting in the uncertainty? How are you at that? Traditionally and presently?
The uncertainty leads to inaction.
Right.
For me. Not a complete lack of action, but often not a complete lack of action, but a lack of doing the right actions potentially.
Okay.
I have so much, there's always so many things I'm interested in, so many angles to research and things like that. So I never have a lack of something to do.
Yeah.
Like if I opened up my laptop, you'd see there's probably 40 tabs open, and they're all relevant to something, to some thread that's going on. So I can spend a day at my desk reading and researching and learning and doing this. But those actions might not be the best action to drive me forward in business, or to generate cash flow, or to support a desire. So that uncertainty tends to lead to inaction until I get really clear on something, like the book thing.
Yeah.
It's something that's been floating around in my head for a couple of years, to do a book. And once I made the decision and I found the pathway of how to do it, bang, I went straight into it, and I created it in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, super interesting, because we had a podcast last week with Katia, a friend of mine, and we were just talking about the opportunity that's in uncertainty, and that how uncomfortable it can be, because we want to grasp to like the control part of like, I want to make sure it's fucking certain.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what can come from sitting in the uncertainty.
Yeah. I think that's me to a T, is that I want to know it's going to work.
Yeah.
I want to know that, okay, if I do this, then that will produce whatever result it is that I'm looking for. And so often we can't know that. And the only way to know it is to try it.
Mm.
And then it's like, oh, I'm not a risk averse person. I
Yep.
like a bit of risk in all of my life, as you know. But yeah, around this stuff, like it seems to me that, well, it's a risk thing, so just do it and see what happens. But around this part of my life, I tend not to operate like that.
Yeah, it's like putting the ladder up against the wrong building, isn't it?
Mm.
Climbing the ladder and like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I'm up against the wrong fucking building.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah.
Good check-in.
Thanks, man.
There's so much in a check-in. We could just do a whole podcast
You
on
just
that.
keep talking like that.
For me, my check-in, how do I feel physically? Oh, you know what? I woke up today and my back is out and it's shooting down into my hips. And luckily I live with a chiropractor, so got a little treatment before I took the boy to school today.
Nice.
So I'm actually feeling a little bit of pain, but beyond that, for me, the emotion behind that is fucking frustration. I tweaked it last week after doing a gym session, and I had most of last week resting it. And I'm like, all right, I'm back into movement again this week. And then woke up today, I'm like, fuck, maybe I'm not. So, yeah, I have a tendency in the past to really get down on my body when it doesn't function well for me. So I'm just trying to catch that, like that little bit of like, oh, don't get too shitty on yourself because this happens. And, you know, I turned 48 on Saturday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thanks, man. So I still think that's fucking young and I still feel young, but my lower back is saying, yeah, you're not that young, mate.
That that frustration in your body, do you think that comes from having been a trainer and everything like that, that you feel like you should be at a higher standard? Or
yeah, I think because I've had relatively high levels of function in the past because of that.
Yep.
And also I've completely lost that in the past as well.
Right.
So I think there's a pretty well-worn groove of fuck you, body. You know?
Which is whose responsibility.
Yeah.
Exactly, right.
So that's why I'm learning to be a little bit kinder on myself when, like a day like today, rather than just having the shits because my back's out.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, it's all right. You know, it'll pass in the next day or two.
That's
and
cool.
So if that's me physically. Mentally, yeah, feeling really excited about this. Looking forward to you coming down today. So that's been a bit of hype this morning. So
Cool.
feeling a little bit of energy in that. And emotionally feeling actually quite a bit of carryover joy from the weekend.
Nice.
Yeah. I think for me, a birthday now is a really good time to reflect on, you know, what happened in the last year. And it was really nice to just have some joy and contentment around, oh yeah, like I'm pretty content with 48-year-old me. You know, I'm not searching out, you know, too many upgrades other than just maybe a bit more functional back.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So there's a little bit of joy and contentment just trickling over from the weekend.
Nice.
And I'm just trying to let the sharpness of the back injury not like completely slam that out.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool. It's good. It's a good level of awareness.
Yeah. And I think that's why I like these conversations, because like it allows me to check in too.
Yep.
And sometimes I'll be like, okay, this whole day's been ruined by my back and I've got to get things done. And so yeah, overall feeling pretty good.
Awesome. Cool.
How the hell do we know each other?
I was trying to think how we originally met.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
And I think there's probably a step before this, like just, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
We reconnected after 15 years.
Yeah.
And caught up for a coffee, and it felt like we could have had a one-day coffee.
Yeah.
to catch up. We had about a 2.5-hour coffee, but that was part of the reasoning to get you back here is like, let's keep telling the story because
That
we.
was cool. Well, I mean, you were a client
Correct.
um, back. I mean, that's got to be 2010 or something like that. You were a client, but I was trying to think. I mean, I remember that, and then we became friends from that, and then haven't seen each other for a long, long time. But I was trying to think, how did we originally actually get connected or introduced? And I couldn't remember whether it was through networking or whether it
Yeah, I
was
think we were
friends,
traveling in similar
probably.
circles.
And yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that was, I mean, that was 15 years ago, and I made some videos for you for the business you had at the time, and
Yep.
yeah, it evolved from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So 15 years ago, what was happening in your life 15 years ago?
Um,
So you're doing video production?
yeah, so video production, which had been my original sort of background and career, had been TV and film.
Yep.
And then I'd tried a few different things that had not worked for one reason or another, and sort of fell back to my default of what do I know what to do? What do I know what to do really well?
Yeah.
And that's then when I started my own video production business, which I then ran for many years,
Yeah.
which was great. But yeah, so I was running video production. I was primarily focused on working with coaches and speakers and trainers.
Yeah.
This is the early days of sort of YouTube. I think YouTube 2007 or something like that. So,
Yep.
2009, 10, 15 years ago was still fairly new. And the idea of people doing video content like you do today was completely foreign.
Yeah.
So I was spending a lot of time doing that professionally.
What was your biggest challenge back then?
Within the business or for me personally?
Yeah, personally.
My family and my kids at
Yeah.
the time. So I'd been married. I've got two kids, and I left my wife, and I very quickly set up a new relationship with my now wife.
Mhm.
Um, and my first wife was understandably very hurt and what have you. And she took my kids out of Australia and took them back to New Zealand, which
Okay.
is where we're originally from, which caused a lot of hurt and anguish and things like that.
Yeah.
And around that time, was trying to figure out what that was for me in my life. Like, there was a big part of me that said, "Well, I just need to pack up and go back to New Zealand."
Yeah.
Um, to be with the kids. But I was in a new relationship with Rochelle. Um, Prior to the video production, actually overlapping the video production, I did have another business where I had 3 full-time staff and 15 contractors.
Yeah, right.
So I sort of had this responsibility to these 17, 18 other people for their income. I'm like, well, I can't just stop and drop that, and but I don't want to be away from my kids. And so it was sort of going through this whole process of working out what that all worked and what it looked like. And we, at that exact time when we met, what had sort of worked is that through many, I wouldn't say discussions, through many arguments, um, I'd talked about going back to New Zealand and having my kids 50-50, and my ex-wife was very insistent that no, it'll be every second weekend. And so that was the source of lots of
Yeah.
fighting and arguments and not a lot of fun. But I actually figured out that if I stayed living here and went every third weekend for 5 days, so
Yeah.
Thursday to Tuesday, I actually got more hours with the kids.
Yeah.
Um, it would mean that I wasn't there for school assembly or this or that, but compared with the every second weekend routine, if I did 5 days every third weekend, it
Yeah.
actually worked out to more time with the kids. So that's what I was doing. I was flying over on a Wednesday night or a Thursday morning.
How was that for you?
It was hectic.
Fuck.
It was hectic. And I was like really worried about how the kids were doing. And, I know that they went to see a psychologist and everything to
Yeah.
make sure they were okay. I was incredibly fortunate that um, my ex-wife grew up we grew up in the same suburb. We didn't know each
Right.
other, but we grew up in the same suburb, so our families were there, and my parents had moved back there. So that's where she went back to. So I was very fortunate that my parents were 10 minutes drive from where the kids were,
Yeah.
which was great because it meant when I was there, I could just stay with mum and dad, and the kids would be over, and they had the room for that. But it also meant that mum and dad was retired
Yeah.
already, so dad was sort of then
Could show up to the
show up to
assemblies.
things and was
Yeah.
picking the kids up from school every now and then,
Mm.
and he was retired. He'd hurt his back and couldn't play golf anymore, so he sort of didn't
Yeah.
have. So it actually gave him a bit of purpose as well. But yeah, it was an interesting time because it's far from ideal.
Yeah.
Um, and without wanting to be away from the kids, I also had to respect what it was that I wanted in my life,
Yeah.
and it was trying to find that balance and maintain those relationships.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
And it's hard with kids as well when you
Hmm.
try and Skype. Back in the day, you try and Skype call the
Yep.
kids, and they're not interested. They're just busy
Being
doing whatever
kids.
they're
Yeah.
doing, being kids, which is frustrating because then you don't talk to them for a few days. But it's doesn't mean there's anything wrong. But
Yeah.
of course, your brain goes into.
Well, that's the bit I'm interested in. Like, what impact did that have on you back up here as you were doing your thing?
Um, it's interesting to think back on it. I mean, I had a lot of guilt around it,
Yeah.
and I did wonder about how it would impact relationships going forward. But I also had this knowledge that I just had to make sure that everything I was doing here and the business I was building supported my ability to
Go back.
go back.
Yeah.
The flip side to that too was that every school holidays we would have the kids for the whole holidays.
Yeah. Right.
So every 9 or 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So it'd be like 3 trips, and then it'd be the holidays,
Yep.
and the kids would come. So it was also making sure that when the kids were here, I could try and focus as much as I could on them, which
Yep.
didn't always happen depending on what was going on with work and,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, those other commitments to pay the bills and what have you. But it did mean that the kids were over. It meant the kids got to build a relationship with Rochelle as
Yep.
well. Um, because, I mean, they were only young. Morgan would have been 9 and Aiden would have been 4 when they went back
Yep.
to New Zealand. Um, so they, if they'd just stayed in New Zealand and I hadn't been able to get them back and forward, they wouldn't have been able to build a relationship with Rochelle, who's now, a
Yeah.
big part of their lives,
Yeah.
a long time later.
It's interesting, like that whole benefit consequence thing. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
some consequences, but there's also some benefits that come from it, isn't there?
There is 100%. I mean, side benefit to this is that Rochelle's a Kiwi.
Yeah. Right.
She moved here when she was 15, a long time ago. She's older than you and I are. And she'd not really been back a whole lot of times
Yeah.
in all of those years. So for her, she started coming on some of those trips with me, and it helped her sort of reconnect a little bit to New Zealand and things, which
Yep.
was really interesting to sort of see and observe.
Mm.
And I mean, ultimately, we ended up living back over there for a couple of years just recently. So, um, but that's the sort of that unintended side benefit consequence thing that, that was an unintended one for that.
It's a really interesting thing, like that, how that applies to so many different parts of life. Like, often a question I ask people is like, "What's the benefit of that?" And they're like, "There's no benefit to that. I was fucking separate from my kids." Well, you know,
It is. It's hard to think about.
yeah, fully.
Because you do think about the negative side of it. But I mean, it gave me time.
Yeah,
Like, and I've had conversations with people who are. I'm trying to think. There was someone specifically. I can't think who it was, but they were in the week on, week off kind of setup.
yep,
And I just remembered who it was. Uh, but for her, it was like it gives me a week to be me,
yeah,
not to be mum.
yeah.
Yes, I'll still ring and check in and what have you, but
I'm the walking billboard for that.
if I want to go out for dinner on a Tuesday night,
Yeah,
I can,
yeah,
and things like that. So yeah, there's definitely benefits, and are there consequences and downsides? Sure. I mean, you look at the statistics around crime and broken families and all of those things, and there are societal consequences to it. I mean, fortunately, my kids have grown up to be good, healthy, well-rounded,
Yeah.
great kids who don't seem to have been negatively impacted by it and have had different experiences. I mean, they're international travelers by themselves from the age of, like, they were flying unaccompanied
There's the
minor when
benefit.
Aiden was 5,
Yeah.
right? So, they're just like, "Yep, see you, bye," and on planes and gone, and,
Yeah.
you know
The confidence to do that in themselves.
oh, yeah. I mean, my daughter, she's 26 now, um, but she's happy. I was living in Vietnam in 2019, and she came over with a friend
Yeah.
to go backpacking for a month around Vietnam. And a week into it, her friend got really, really sick and just got freaked out and flew home. Said, "Oh, I can't. I have to go home."
Yeah.
So Morgan was in some other part of Vietnam from me, and I'm talking to her. I said, "Well, what do you want to do? Like, if you want to come back to Ho Chi Minh and hang out with me for the rest of your trip," or she goes, "No, no, I'm cool. I'm just going to carry on." And she just went 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Off she went, and she's sending me photos, and she's like getting on the back of someone's motorbike and going up to some village in the mountains and spending the night on the floor in some local home and things like this. She was 21 or
Yeah,
22
right.
years old,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that independence is
Mm.
so good.
And we can sometimes in the moment when we do make these decisions, we can't see that stuff.
No,
Yeah.
you can't
I
know what that outcome's going to be.
yeah, fully. I can remember vividly one of my biggest fears about, um, separation was that I wouldn't be there every day.
Right.
And what's actually worked out as the biggest gift is that I'm not there every day. And I don't mean that in a shitty way. It's just in a I get to be me, he gets time with his mum,
Mhm.
and then when we are together, the connection is much more valued because I know that it's finite. I've got
Yes.
a week, and
Yep.
then, you know
Those relationships continue to evolve as
mm,
well, like, as the kids get older. So my 2 are adults now,
yeah,
and Finn's a teen.
yeah, he's nearly 16.
Yeah, but those relationships continue to evolve, and it's so cool, like, seeing your kids, when they're tiny and they're little and you see them start to walk and then, you see them go through all these things. But I think one of the things I've really enjoyed most about being a dad is seeing my kids become adults
Yep.
and go and run their own lives, and it's just, I don't know, it's a different level of awareness of
Yeah,
where they are, because you
yeah.
think back, like, I can think back now and go, like, Morgan's 26. She took herself off to London in the middle of last year. She's, working in a hospital in London. She's doing weekend trips to Europe. She FaceTimed me from the back of a camel in the Sahara on Saturday night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
At
that's
home
awesome.
on the couch, phone goes, "Oh, look, it's a video call from Morgan." And yeah, she's on the camel in the Sahara. But, seeing her do that and have that level of independence, as I said, it's been really good. But in terms of the relationship, there's probably more with Aiden. It's funny, as the kids grew up, I always felt more connected to Morgan, and, like, we were more alike and things like
Sorry, Ed.
that. Um, but Aiden at 18 finished high school in New Zealand and packed up and moved himself to Sydney
Oh, cool.
to chase his dreams, and that was super cool. But then suddenly I became useful dad. "Dad, the washing machine's not working. What do I do?
Yeah,
Dad,
right.
I need one of these. Where do I get it?" I become useful dad, so the phone calls start coming
Mm,
because he needs to know things. And I didn't mind at all because it meant he was
yeah,
calling me.
yeah,
Because for the few years prior to that, he was a teenage boy doing teenage boy things, calling
yeah,
dad's like the last thing on his radar. But over the 3 years that he was in Sydney and things, that just evolved to, like, we've got a friendship
yeah,
now. Yeah, it's not a father-son kind of thing anymore. It was useful dad, and then the phone calls would suddenly come to, "Oh, no, I'm just on my way home from course. I just thought I'd give you a ring."
yeah, nice.
And now, last night he rang. So he's a dancer. He's
Yeah,
working on a cruise ship. He rang last night. He says, "I can't talk. I'm just ringing to tell you that Callum's got a migraine, so he can't go on. So I'm doing my understudy role for
nice.
Callum in the show tonight. And I've just been rehearsing for 2.5 hours, and now I've got to go and eat some food and do it. Okay, I've got to
He
go.
just
Bye."
wanted you to know.
And he just wanted you to know. And I'm
Yeah,
like, that's so cool, because
yeah.
that's a friendship kind of
Mm.
thing. So
And it's kinda cool. It's a good example about how the connection with the kids evolves as they move through their years,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. And I mean, we see it even more. So Rochelle being a bit older, her kids are older. So we've got grandkids on that side now.
Yeah, right.
So whereas my kids are in their 20s going off doing things, her kids are in their 30s having kids. So then we have a different relationship with them.
I'm thinking about your dad. I know nothing about him.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious about how much of your dad do you see in you
Lots.
to your kids,
If you looked at a photo, I'll show you a photo later, but I look like my dad.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I've never thought through this. And my dad's not well now. He's got dementia.
Yeah, right. It's
So,
tough, isn't it?
Going through that journey as a family. Certainly learnt a lot from Dad. He was, he was always out there. He was very sporty and he played rugby and then refereed when he didn't play anymore, and he played basketball. But he was a leader. He was in the military and he was a leader in the military and things like that. So I think I learnt a lot from him in terms of working with people and things like that. Also not being afraid to have a go at things.
Sounds very similar to my old man.
Yeah.
Got some similar
Like
parallels.
have a crack. Like Dad retired from the military, went and worked in corporate life for a while, and then had a go at his own business.
Yep.
He went into a little franchise business and gave that a bloody good crack. And it was really interesting to see that, like, it was completely different from anything he had done before, but it's like using the skills that he had and adapting them and having a go. So, yeah, definitely learnt a lot from that over the years. So, in a lot of ways, I think I'm quite similar to him.
So what ways are you consciously trying to be different to your dad? And I'll preface this because I think in some capacity we have a compliance, like there's the bit that I want to be like, and there's some defiance of like, how do I differentiate from my dad and do it? Because I experienced what that felt like. How do I do it differently? So how would you say you're different in regards to your old man and how you father?
In terms of how I parent?
Yeah.
Wow. I know I was a lot harder on my kids than he was, or than what my mum says he was on me and my sister when they were growing up. But that, I think, isn't down to necessarily parenting or anything. That was down to my state of mind.
Yeah.
I didn't cope with my emotions and stress very well, and that would often get taken out on whoever was closest to me. And if that happened to be the kids at the time, they might get yelled at for something that was of zero consequence or zero fault.
And was that
Of their
something
own.
that
But
you saw in your house as a
no,
kid?
I don't remember that
Yeah, right.
at all. And my mother commented to me at one point about it, saying, "You're a lot harder on the kids than Dad
Yeah.
than I ever were on you."
What's it like to hear that from your mum?
Oh, pretty horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh, isn't it?
It's pretty horrible.
Thanks, Mum.
But necessary and important
And real.
and a catalyst to be better.
Yeah.
Um,
So what does be better look like on that front? Because I'm sensing there's a little bit of a journey here for you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there was two things to it really. One was don't take things out on the kids that
Yeah.
aren't anything to do with the kids. And second thing was learn to cope with my emotions and stress better so that I don't feel the need to unleash or
Yep.
and it's not even feeling a need, it's a reaction,
Yep.
So get myself to a point where I can deal with stress or uncertainty or whatever it is better so that the reaction to that is not anger or yelling or whatever it happens to be.
So it sounds kind of simplistic in a sentence to say it out loud.
It does, doesn't it?
Fucking hard to do.
Oh, look, and I mean, I still get cranky and raise my voice maybe occasionally. Nowhere near what I used to. I'm very conscious that I'm a lot better than at the regulation stuff than I was, but occasionally it's just frustration.
And how do you feel about that angry part?
How do I feel about the angry part. Part of me, well, a big part of me wishes it wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I know it doesn't need to be there. It's just learning to utilize, I guess, the tools and things that, I've learned over the years.
Yeah.
I don't know if this applies true for everyone, but I've learned a lot of strategies and tools and techniques, but they don't always come front of mind. They're all buried in there somewhere.
Yeah. But it's interesting, like, if you're happy to talk about it, because I find this shit very interesting. Like, we talk about benefits and consequences. Like, what was the benefit of your anger? Like, what did you get from it?
Wow. What did I get from it? I probably got to feel justified somehow in being angry because the world was happening to me.
Yeah. Like a bit of power and control kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like, it's understandable that I'm angry because of this and this and this and
like
this and this, so I'm
circumstantial.
entitled to be angry.
Yeah.
Um,
So what was the benefit? So you felt justified. Is that it?
yeah, I don't know if I was justified. I mean, is it the breakthrough often follows a breakdown?
Yeah.
Often that would be, expressing myself in anger and then having an honest conversation about why that had happened.
The connection after conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Never heard that.
Mm.
So, in more recent years, I have been a lot better at just having the conversation without the need for the catalyst to happen first. Yeah.
It's so interesting though, because it's, in some capacity that'll be true of, like, I do this because I want the connection after it, whether it's conscious or
Right.
unconscious.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. But then now what I hear you now is, like, I'm better at regulating the reactive stuff.
Yeah.
And I can go straight to the,
Yeah.
well, maybe not straight to, because
But, you need to find the space and the time and what have you for the conversations. And I mean, I think this is an evolution of relationship and an evolution of trust for me. Not that there was ever a lack of trust, but it's trusting myself to. I mean, I know Rochelle will support me in anything at all.
Yeah.
Right. That's just who she is. She's incredible. So it's just knowing that it's okay for me to share my innermost thoughts around, like this whole thing with the business over the last 9 months is, part of me is like, oh, I'll just sort it out. So, keep the cash going and things like that. But then it's like, no, it's okay to say, oh, I'm worried about this or I'm worried about that. And I'm not sure this is what I want to be doing. And,
to welcome that without having the need to push it away and put on a face that it's okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think life is a constant learning journey and a constant reinvention of yourself, through, be it different careers, different homes, different places of living, different hobbies. There's just this level of reinvention, and like what we're talking about here feels like that internal reinvention, and
that relationship to self, and
relationship to self. And the more that I feel that I do just have those open, honest conversations, then the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like using that analogy a bit. It's like, what have we got to do to build this muscle? No, the conflict connection thing's pretty interesting, because part of my history has been the conflict avoidant people pleaser.
Right.
So I'd not speak my truths because I didn't want to rock the boat and, upset someone. But what I didn't realize is that there is some beautiful connection that comes on the other side in the repair of conflict. And I was just like so far the other end. I was just like, I'm the play it safe guy. I'm the nice guy. I'm just not going to say what's on my mind because I don't want the conflict. And I don't want to burden someone else with that.
Yeah.
And that what I've realized was I was doing myself a disservice and the other person. I was essentially taking the other person's power away
Right.
to a capacity. But I was missing out on the repair. And in the repair comes that next layer of conflict, or next layer of connection, sorry. And what I've experienced in my relationship at the moment is that, like, we'll have blow ups, but our repair is strong.
Mm.
And that means that that changes what the next one looks like,
Yeah.
because the connection's stronger than it used to be before the blow up.
Right. It's that evolving level of
Yeah. So, and just thinking about it as we speak, like the fear or aversion to having the blow up, which was used to be really strong, it's like, oh, avoid that at all costs.
Yep.
Is now lessened considerably, knowing that we're going to be stronger on the other side of it.
It's cool to have that level of awareness around it.
It is, and I'm pretty good.
Doesn't make the blow-ups any better.
I'm pretty good at it retroflectively.
Yeah, it doesn't make having a blow-up any better, but it's good to be able to sit here and talk about it. But yes.
Yeah. Like, I had a bit of anger come up like 10 days ago, inappropriately, like wasn't, I say inappropriately, it wasn't the correct response to what was in front of me.
Yep.
And had to go through that process. And it took me probably 2 days before I got off my defensive box.
Right.
So there's still some work to be done. You know, it's not like, da-da.
It's interesting, the conflict avoidance thing, because I think I'm the opposite to that. I don't seek conflict, but I don't back away from it. Rochelle is conflict avoidant. So
Perfect relationship.
those things don't always go together very well.
I want to fight. I don't.
And I'm like, fight back. She just doesn't. So, but what we're very good at is, if there's a little blow up or anything like that, just let it go.
Yeah.
Like if there's something to be talked about, we'll
Yeah.
talk about it. But if it's just a silly little
Not going to hold the resentment.
there's no resentment. There's no
spike it
holding.
back.
It's like walk away. 5 minutes later, everything's normal, which is great, and that's maturity on her part that I've had to learn and
She's been your teacher on that front, mate.
yeah, appreciate and come on, and yeah, so that's good.
Cool.
But yes, everyone has that different relationship to the conflict and how they want to deal with things, and even within relationships and things like that, with kids and how kids are doing, and I'll be like, no, go and talk, go and do this, and she'll be like, no, I'll just wait.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but that won't work. Go and do this.
Yeah. And then it's that thing of like, am I okay for us to be different?
Yes.
You know?
I don't necessarily, I've never thought about, am I okay for us to be different? I've never had a relationship like the relationship I have with Rochelle before.
Yeah.
Which is what made it so special in that time of the kids being younger and being taken away and everything. It was something for me that was like, well, this relationship's different. Like there's really something here to explore. If it
What was different about it?
I think just that level of connection that was built over time.
Yep. The evidence-based building.
Yeah. So with my first wife, she got pregnant fairly quickly after we'd known each other, like within 3-4 months.
Yep.
She was quite a bit older than me. We were at different stages of career. We were sort of just mucking around, having some fun. I actually went away for a month, came back. So in that 4 months, I was away for a whole month. And then she got pregnant. She's like, well, I'm having the baby, because she was late 30s.
Yep.
And yeah, she's like, I don't care what you're doing, I'm having the baby. Da, 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 da. So that relationship then sort of built over time from that basis.
Yeah, right.
Whereas with the relationship with Rochelle was like someone I met through business and networking and got to know over time. And so
very different foundation.
Very different foundation to it. Yeah. And very different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very different. My first wife, my second current wife, my forever wife.
So if we swing back to because I think how we got onto this, and I love that this meanders all over the place, but I think how we got onto this was talking about how you're different to your old man.
Oh, yeah, God.
And maybe this was a big deflection.
Well, the question you asked was, how am I consciously different to my old man?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if I am at all. Like, I can't think of anywhere where I've consciously tried to be different to my dad. Like my dad was awesome.
Cool.
And yeah, I can't think of anywhere that I'm consciously different. I okay, so here's an interesting thing.
When
the
shit unfolds in real time.
Coach Rick. So my dad, for whatever reason, held a belief that I didn't believe in myself. And on more than one occasion, he expressed that to me.
Sorry, just to get clarity, he believed that you didn't believe that you believed in yourself.
Yes,
Yep,
correct.
gotcha.
And he said it to me at one point, if only you believed in yourself more. But then he also said it to Rochelle. And yeah, that was interesting because there's an element of truth to it.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, well, do I believe in myself? And it's like, well, I do believe in myself, but do I 100% believe in myself? And I think it depends on what context that conversation is happening in. But also hearing that from Dad was like, oh, am I not living up to expectation? I want to prove myself to him, which is a whole other interesting
it's huge
thing. Yeah, I want to be successful at various different things and show Dad that, look, I've achieved this and I've achieved this. But then you go, well, what is success? I mean, like, what does success look like, and what does it have to look like? I mean, I've done incredible things in my life that I'm enormously satisfied with, and satisfied and happy with, and I know that he's proud that I've achieved those things. So, where does that come from?
And whose success, like whose definition are we working on?
Well, that's exactly right. If you take it at a monetary level, or you go, well, I'm worth X amount of money, which is a decent amount as far as I'm concerned, but it's not mega wealthy or anything like that. But then you go, well, okay, look at all the other things I've done that are non-monetary, and go, well, how do we achieve success in that? I mean, I raised 2 fully functioning adults with the assistance of their mum and my parents and the other influences in their lives and things. But 2 fully functioning, happy, healthy individuals who are out living their own lives.
Yeah. But it's also interesting to see, like, am I living the values of success of my dad, or am I living my values of success? Do you know what I mean? Because
That's an interesting
I'm just
question.
bringing back to what you said there about the belief thing.
Yeah.
And what I heard when you describe your dad, and your face lights up when you talk about your dad, is about, like, he's this amazing leader and strong and driven, and those powerful words.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because if I thought about what you just said there about my values or his values, I'm like, well, what are his values of success? And I think mine are potentially more externally driven than his.
Externally driven?
His are probably, I mean, I'm just trying to think through what would Dad's values be like, and it would be family,
Right, gotcha.
things like that.
Yeah.
Which family is definitely a value of mine, but freedom's like my highest value.
Yeah.
Freedom and adventure and those things. So different from that point of view.
Yeah. It's even just that's really interesting because, like, if someone's their highest value is family and your highest value is freedom and adventure, when you're off flying your plane or racing your race car, which are 2 things that you actually do, not a shitty example, just actual fact.
Yeah.
The perception from him could be like, oh, he's not spending time with his family. Do you know what I mean? As in regards to, like, whose success is this?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. because I think one of the things that probably unconsciously has come through from this is that Dad, as a leader in the Air Force, would spend time away.
Mm-hmm.
So he was in the New Zealand Air Force. He was a high-ranking officer. He would often spend time in Australia or in different places, on exercise or whatever he happened to be doing at the time. And I think unconsciously within me, there's probably an element of, or just that, it's normal. Just to pack up and go is just normal.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
completely how I feel.
Hmm.
Like if I had an opportunity for an adventure tomorrow
You'd be gone.
and I'd say to Rochelle that, and there was nothing that conflicted, then yep, I'd be pack my bag and go, and work out the business stuff or whatever else that
Well,
needed
look,
to be worked out around it.
when you walked in here this morning, I said, I've been following your latest adventure. And you're like, which one?
I was
I'm
like,
like,
oh, moving house. Oh no, the one that happened 2 days before that.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the flying a small plane to Melbourne and
Yeah.
that one.
2 days before I moved house.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the uncertainty that I might not make it home in time to actually move house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's more aligned with you,
yes,
more so than
100%.
Yeah.
And to the willingness of my beautiful wife to allow me to
Yeah.
live these adventures and have things even when the timing isn't quite ideal.
I also think
Work.
that's just a tip of the hat to the partners that know us and what feeds us.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
100%.
And
100%.
I think it's underrated,
Yeah.
like highly underrated,
Yeah.
to have a partner that allows you to do the meaningful things that fill your cup.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's it. Like, so I mean, the trip you're talking about, for context for anyone listening, is that I do fly small aircrafts. I'm a private pilot. I have my license, and I had this opportunity. The Avalon Air Show was on last week, which is Australia's biggest air show. And just through the flying club that I'm a part of, one of the guys there is the dealer for an Italian brand of aircraft, and he needed an aircraft delivered to and from Melbourne. So I had the opportunity to take a small two-seater aircraft and fly it down to Melbourne and then fly it back. And it was a great adventure, because most of my flying is just local. I'll fly up and down the beach, or maybe I'll come down over here, or what have you, and the occasional cross country. But the opportunity to do a decent cross country trip like that was great, and it does fill my cup and light me up. And yeah, these are the things. So yeah, having that partner in life who understands that and supports it is incredible.
Yeah. And it's interesting how that can go both ways, that we can see that in them.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Mm.
And then just thinking back to the conversation about Dad, it's like, well, Dad didn't do that. Like, no, so when he was in the Air Force for all those years, yes, he was away, but that was work. But once he was out of the military and doing that, he didn't, like, that wasn't something that featured in his life.
Yeah.
So that's something where I'm different.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting.
Mm. Yeah. And it's just, I think all this sort of, it's just getting to know yourself better,
So you said before you just turned 48.
Yeah.
You still feel young. So I'm 53. And I actually was thinking about this earlier today. It's like, I feel like I'm 30, or you can't put a number on that because but at 53, I'm still young. I'm still doing stuff. There's still new things and new adventures to be had. And I had a really interesting shift. This is a great story. Really interesting shift around time recently. When you turn 40, you're like, oh shit, I'm a proper adult now, right? I don't know if you had that experience, but it's like, there's no denying that I'm an adult anymore when I'm 40. And then you come to 50 and then you're like, oh, retirement, it's this thing and it's not that far away. And da, 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 da. So then you start thinking about, well, what does that look like, etc. But at the end of last year, one of Rochelle's aunties passed away.
Yeah.
And she was 92. And her husband's still alive and kicking and 92. And he's a dead set legend. So at 92, he rides his push bike 20 Ks a day.
Yeah.
He's out in the garden. He's in the shed. He's at the bowls club. He's having a beer. He's having a whiskey. He's telling stories. He's just great, So we went to the funeral up in Noosa and, spent time with the family. And I spent time talking with Uncle Graham. And we were driving home in the car. And I was just thinking through, just him and how strong and you don't know what else is going on, but he's going bloody well for a 92-year-old.
Yeah.
And I just had this realization that he was like 38 years older than me. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. 38 years ago, I was 14 or something.
Well,
13.
this is crazy. I had this exact same thought yesterday because Joe's dad's here
Yep.
and he turned 80 2 weeks ago.
Right. Yep.
And it was my birthday on the weekend. He goes, "You've only got 32 years to go." I was like, I've got a whole fucking life ahead of
32
me.
years ago, you were 16, right? So this is the thing. I had this realization and I went, in my calculations, I was 13. And I went, so everything I've done in my life from age 13 to now, I've got that amount of time ahead of me
Yeah.
to get to where Uncle Graham, in my case, is. It was like this huge
It's epic.
reset in my thinking around time. I was like, oh my God, that was massive.
Because it's funny, when Cole said that to me yesterday, I was like, oh, that's going to make me feel old. I did the maths. I'm like, I've got 32 years up my sleeve.
Yeah.
I could do a lot in that.
What have you done in 32 years?
A lot. Basically, like it's a whole life.
So, yeah, I had that realization. That was towards the end of last year. And then there's something else that's backed this up for me recently is that I've become really good mates with a guy that I met walking the dogs in the neighborhood where we were living. He likes race cars and planes. And it was thanks to him I actually got the opportunity to do this trip to Melbourne.
Yeah, right.
Hugh. So Hugh and I have become good friends and spending a bit of time together. And Hugh's 70. Hugh goes to CrossFit at 5:30 every morning. He's fitter than you or I.
Yeah.
He'd work you or I under the table if we did a workout with him. But yeah, he drives trucks around the country with race cars in them for his mates, just so he can help out on the race cars. He doesn't drive; he just gets involved. He flies. He built his own light aircraft. So it was a kit plane that he bought and built. There's hundreds of them around. It's a good aircraft, but he went through that process of building it. And yeah, he's 70 years old now.
What an inspiration.
70 years old, like, I don't know. I mean, generations shift, right? But 70 years old is generally old granddad territory for a lot of people. And certainly if you go back 30 years, it was.
Yeah. It's a beautiful example of like you get to do it your way.
Yeah. So it's great. So it's been actually really cool just hanging out with you and learning a lot from him.
Yeah.
And going, well, he's 17 years older than I am. The 17 years is a great amount of time.
So what's the knock on for you for that? Like, what does that mean?
Oh, just that there is so much more I can do.
Yeah.
And so many more adventures I can have and things I haven't even thought of yet that I want to do. And, even things like I was saying to you before about the guy who's in space right now.
Oh, yeah.
Rich guy in space right now.
Yeah.
But growing up as a kid on Air Force bases, I was always fascinated with planes and space travel and things like that. It was one of my things is I wanted to go to space. I'm like, well, it's completely possible in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Given that 38 years from now, I'll be 92 or whatever the math is. It's like, that's a whole lot of years for space travel to evolve, become, cheaper. You don't have to pay $1 million a seat or whatever it is right now. So those sort of things. Yeah. So what does it mean for me meeting Hugh and being older? Is that there's no end to
anything's possible.
No end to my adventures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is cool.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm just thinking about how that can seep into your work, or how does that seep into your work?
It's really interesting because I've had this sort of thought process as well, and how I can adapt some of that into my work or make it part of my work. I've had this vague idea around, well, there's plenty of guys out there who wish they could do things. The reality is they can. It's just no one's ever told them they can or given them a permission or a pathway to do it. So I've had vague thoughts around, well, how could I do that? Help guys realize their dreams and live their lives. I mean, I didn't start car racing till I was 40, your age. I think I was, no, I was a bit younger. I was my mid-40s, though, when I started car racing.
Yeah.
Got my pilot's license. I just turned 50 when I got my pilot's license.
That's heading in a good direction. Just those experiences.
Here's one.
Yeah.
I'm in my first band.
Of course you are.
We're a band now because we gave ourselves a name. So now we're a band because we have a name. So you know, people go in bands when they're young, and no, not me. I'm officially in my first band at 53 years of age. So, yeah. So, how do I tie all this stuff to my work? All this, I don't know in my current work and how it could be there. There's definitely elements of it, but yeah, I've always had those thoughts of, well, is there something I could do to help other guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And maybe it's that thing where the work gives you the time and freedom and money to go and do the adventures.
well, this is
So
what
it's
it
like they
is.
don't have to be intertwined, do they?
Yeah, no, they don't. I mean, work for me has always been around helping people and working with people. I certainly like plane.
Yeah.
Just heard a plane fly over. Um, yeah, a lot of work stuff for me has always been about helping people and helping them achieve
Yep.
things. Um, be that like with the video stuff and,
Mm.
making videos for coaches and helping them build their businesses and things like that. So yeah, just an evolution of that in terms of,
Because you're in the crypto space now, aren't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'm crypto coaching. So
Yep.
I'm helping people um, learn crypto, I
Yep.
guess. Um, I sort of ended up here by default rather than by design,
Yeah.
uh, which was part of the whole thing last year when suddenly it was, okay, now it's my business, not our business.
Yep.
It's like, well, I didn't intentionally set out to come into this business. I sort of just ended up here through some circumstance and
Yep.
maybe. Um, but I love the crypto space just for the technology and the change it's actually bringing around in the world, not just crypto, but blockchain.
Yep.
I've got really good knowledge to help people get a good understanding and get started in it. Um, I'm not a trader, like I don't teach trading and things like that,
Yep.
but I'm really good at helping people understand the fundamentals and unpacking what can be complex topics
Yeah.
and make them understandable.
What do you get from that other than cash?
I enjoy the satisfaction of seeing other people
Yep.
grasp concepts they couldn't get their head around, or get an understanding, or achieve a financial result specifically. We've got one client who's going to retire this year
Yeah.
because of what he's been able to do with his crypto portfolio.
Because that's kind of the theme back to your other work, isn't it? It's
Mm.
like helping people
Yeah,
succeed.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Um, and then part of the discovery of, well, what does this business look like being just me? Um, I've actually, like I said, I'd written a book. So the book is about actually keeping your crypto safe,
Yep.
which is something that no one's really talking about, right? So there's plenty of people out there. Like my news feed just gets smashed with crypto coaches all day long.
Yep.
And they're all learn to trade, learn this, and get rich and da 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 da. And it's like I don't approach crypto that way at all. Like to me, crypto is something that people should be investing in the same way they invest in real estate or gold.
Yep.
Like buy some Bitcoin. Like at a minimum, buy some Bitcoin. Just regularly buy some Bitcoin because it's going to continue to go up in value over time.
Yep.
But no one's talking about keeping it safe. There are constant hacks and scams and exchanges getting
Mm.
bloody hacked and robbed, and it's just constant. And then people have the idea that, oh, okay, well, I've heard of self custody of crypto, but I don't know what it means. Well, it means you are your own bank for the first time in your life,
Yep.
right? We've never been our own banks. We've always had banks. We're
Yeah.
taught from kids. Did you have a Dolomites
Yeah.
passbook
Yeah.
as a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're taught from a kid.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's not wrong. It's just how things worked. But
Yeah.
now we're reaching this new evolution of how finances work. So we can become truly sovereign and actually have custody of our own wealth. But that comes with a level of responsibility that people have never had before
Yeah.
because there's no forgot password button, there's no help desk to call.
Yep.
If you lock yourself out of your wallet and you haven't got your backup resources there, funds are gone. So, within the book, it's those sort of things. It's like, right, understanding self custody, understanding that responsibility, understanding how to do it in
Mm.
a way that is responsible and you can
Yeah.
look after it. And then beyond that, future proofing it, making sure you can pass it on. Like crypto, this is an issue. And we had a friend, Roscoe and I had a friend of ours pass away, Kevin. He died at the end of 2023.
Yep.
And his partner was unable to access a bunch of his crypto
Right.
because she didn't have the passwords and the seed phrases and the recovery phases. So that money's just sitting there on the blockchain, inaccessible. And she it's gone. The money's essentially gone forever. So it's like, okay, here's an issue too. It's a new nascent industry that's still building.
Yeah.
That here's another issue. So that's why I've written the book, and I'm sort of, now talking from that angle, and just not being the same as every other crypto coach. Go make money in crypto.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
be in crypto, but here, do it in a smart, safe way.
Because all I'm thinking about as you're talking is like how you mentioned before, like your top value is freedom.
Mm.
And I think there's some pretty strong
Oh yeah,
links, isn't there?
there's definite correlation. It's one of the things that drew me to crypto in the first place. So, I mean, I bought my first crypto in 2017.
Yep.
And what fascinated me about it was the blockchain technology, because I
Yep.
could see how it could change the financial landscape.
Yep.
And that's now starting to happen, like 8 years later. So it was like, I bought Bitcoin at a lucky time when Bitcoin was going up. So I'm like, I'm making money here. And of course, then 2018 it went down. I'm like, I'm losing money here. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was fascinated by that blockchain technology. My first job out of high school, I worked in a bank. And I see things in the banking system now that are the same as they were in the early 90s. And it's just stupid. I mean, if I transfer money to you on a Saturday, there's a chance you might not get it till Monday. Like,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous, right? Money's been completely digital for so many years. We're just getting rorted by the system.
Yeah, right.
And blockchain changes all of that.
Yeah. And I guess there's some meaning behind it for you then, because then it kind of symbolizes freedom, doesn't it?
It does, 100%. Yeah. Being truly sovereign over your own wealth.
Yeah.
We have that ability over our health and over other things, but we've never really had that ability over our wealth before. So,
Yeah.
definitely that freedom aspect floats in.
Cool.
Mm.
So yeah, I'll chuck some links in the show notes, and if people are interested in following that up, and just touch base with you.
Yeah, cool.
Not that it was more about you.
Good.
But to round it out, I do like to ask people what they're excited about at the moment, whether that's like right now or whether that's just in life in general and moving forward. Like, what excites you right now? What is exciting you right now?
It's really interesting that I I had this thought maybe a year ago in a conversation with someone, and it was like my life is pretty much as I want it.
Yep.
And if you gave me $10 million right now, I would upgrade things, but I wouldn't change anything.
Yep.
So I might race a better car. I might fly a different plane.
Yeah.
But yeah, the things that I do and the things I fill my life with, like that, those two, playing music, going camping,
Yeah.
doing stuff around the home, that wouldn't change. So what am I excited about? I'm actually just loving life. Like, it's not without its challenges.
Yeah.
And figuring out this business journey has been a big one.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be in our new home.
Mm.
Um, I'm excited to live in it without an immediate need to do anything or change anything. The house we had prior to this, we bought coming out of COVID, and houses were just, prices were going up, everything was selling. So we just grabbed what we could.
Yeah.
But we looked and went, yep, we can renovate that and turn it over in 3 to 5 years. And so we had a plan. With this, it's like, no, this is like a 20, 30-year
Yeah. Right.
plan. So we don't need to.
You get to enjoy it for a while.
Yeah, yeah. The bathrooms are a bit dated, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Functional.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm actually really excited to allow this to evolve.
Mm.
And like if we're thinking about the gardens, don't think about, we'll fill that gap with this. Think, what's that going to look like in 20 years' time?
Yeah.
And if we plant some trees here,
Yeah.
how are they going to get big? So that's exciting to me. It's
Mm.
just, what's that?
There's like a little bit of slowing down in there, isn't there?
Yep. Yes, there is a little bit of that.
Yeah.
The other thing that excites me is just seeing my kids living their adventures.
Yep.
Like Aiden ringing me from the cruise ship last night that he was going on to do this thing, which is great. Morgan off in the desert. And then the older kids here, Shell's kids, the older kids, they're having their careers and doing that. But then we've got the grandkids doing their things.
Like
And
a
that's
new generation.
Yeah, yeah. The youngest one, Jasper's just turned 1. And he was over at our place yesterday, and he's just started walking.
Yeah, right.
It's so cool just watching him walk around. And
yeah.
And then, Sebastian's 5, and he's just busy being the smartest 5-year-old on the planet. So, it's super cool.
Yeah, Joe's got some nephews and nieces, and they're 3 and 5.
Oh,
so
yeah,
there's
cool.
like good young energy in the family.
Yeah. No, so I think just being excited about life and knowing that everything's fine, even if you don't know the answer. It's what's that expression? Everything will be okay in the end.
Yeah.
If it's not okay, it's not
the end.
Everything's always like we've never not been okay, right? It's just a little uncertainty of what's next.
Yeah.
Isn't a bad thing.
It's a muscle to be built, isn't it?
Yeah, so just allow the journey to evolve.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. What am I excited about? I'm actually excited about getting these conversations back.
That's cool.
There's been like a month just from Alfred and then a cancellation and then an audio screw up, and I actually really missed it. So I'm just excited to be back into regular conversations. Cool. And I think the part that excites me the most about that is that I don't have an agenda.
Yep.
So
they're not trying to generate leads or anything like that. It's just conversations for the sake of it.
Yeah. So by having no agenda means that I have to have no process. So it's just like, and I'm really learning that my system loves that.
That's cool.
Because I can be an over planner out of the need to control it. Okay, I need to like get an 18-point checklist to make sure this podcast is fine.
Yeah.
And then that just fucks my flow.
Right.
So being able to just like, and what I realize is that builds the muscle of asking questions.
Yep.
And that I really enjoy, the pauses that come from this. And be like,
the thoughts about what's next.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I've loved the conversation. It's great. And I love these style of things. Like I'll listen to a Rogan podcast every now and then, and I love that they just go all over the place. They're sort of structured, and it's cool because you're learning more about people.
Yeah.
And you learn more about people listening to 2 hours of them talk than you do hearing a soundbite.
Yeah, definitely.
If you think about a politician or anyone like that, and I think that probably helped swing the US election.
Yeah.
Trump going on all those long form podcasts where people could listen to him for 2 hours at a time instead of hearing some little clip. So it's cool that you're doing this.
Yeah. So that seems really fun. And it seems like an adventure because I really don't know where the destination is, and that feels good.
Is there someone you'd like to have a conversation with here that you haven't asked yet or you're a little nervous to ask?
No, I've given myself permission just to not hunt.
Yep.
To just, like when we caught up for coffee, I'm like, dude, do you want to come on the podcast?
Yeah.
It's just that.
Yeah, cool.
I had the same conversation with a guy last week. I'm just like, dude, do you want to jump on the podcast? So it's more that in like honoring the in the moment stuff.
Yeah.
More so than just like, okay, this guy's got a big following, so let's get him on.
The in the moment thing's a big thing. I think that you go back to the excitement. Like often I'm in my head a lot.
Yeah.
What's going on. Just like taking more time. I don't meditate or anything like that, but taking more time just to be present.
Yeah.
Is super cool. And so the conversation's been like that, which is good.
Yeah, yeah. I think I mentioned to you before we started, like I'm slowly getting a few people wanting to come on.
Yep.
And I'm just a hard no. Sorry, but
say no to everything and then figure it out later.
Yeah. But to me, it's the opposite of what I want this to be.
Yeah.
Because that's an agenda. It's like I want people putting themselves out there to be on podcasts, which makes good sense.
Yeah.
But just not my podcast.
Yeah. Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Love it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. I like being the opposite. All right, man. Thank you for making the trip down.
No worries. Thank you for inviting me.
I would love to do this again because I feel like we have a lot more to talk about.
We could talk for hours and hours and hours about all sorts of things.
All right. Thanks, man.
Cool. Cheers.
Hey, before you head off, I just wanted to say thanks for listening to that conversation. If you enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate if you followed the podcast on Spotify, left a review, or even just left a comment and let me know what you got from the podcast. Those little bits of interaction mean a lot. We're not doing any promo or ads, or we're not selling anything on this podcast. So the goal is just to get these conversations into more people's ears. So if you've got a spare 30 seconds, really appreciate those little steps that help this grow. Okay, we'll see you in the next one.